Good evening, Burrows and Burrowettes. It's another screencast this evening to help you with setting up that gradebook and putting in assignments. Occasionally you get thrown a little curveball in the field of education, and you sometimes have to teach a new class 2 weeks into school. So I thought I'd take this opportunity to really walk you through all of the steps and show you how quick it really is. So here's my new 2A anatomy class, and it's actually the second time I've met them today. But I have not set their gradebook up yet, so I want to go ahead and set that gradebook up. So the first thing we need, of course, is categories. So we go to the chevron for settings, and we click the chevron for settings, and we click on the categories link. Now, I'll be using 3 categories using a weighted method of 1 and 0, depending on if they count or they don't count. So in the bottom corner, I'm going to add my first category, which is going to be summative tasks. I'm going to weight it 1 because I want it to count. And I'm going to add it to both my quarters, and I want to add it to my grading tasks. That's a calculation button, so you have to add that. And we're going to hit save. The next category I'm going to add is formative tasks. So we add, same process, formative tasks. I'm going to keep a weight of 0, and I'll explain because we don't want that to count against their final grade. But then I'll show you what we can do with assignments later on, okay? Again, we're going to make sure that it applies to both terms, and we're going to make sure it actually calculates in the grading task. We'll hit save. Now, we're going to hit grading task because we want it to show up, but we simply don't want it to weigh anything, hence we put a weight of 0. Okay? Save. And finally, I'm going to add one more, and this is a professionalism grade. It's the habits and attitudes towards learning, my HAL, and that's a weight of 0. Again, making sure that I connect both of those to the gradebook and save. So, just under a minute and a half, we have 3 categories. So we can go ahead and close this out. These are all saved, and notice that I have a weight of 1 for my summative tasks. And voila, we're going to have some really cool changes right here. Now, as you may or may not recall, we have to be able to set up our grade calculation options. So the first thing we have to do after we've set up our categories, or you could do this before, it doesn't really matter, is set up the grade calculation. So we click the grade calculation link, and we want to use the icon up here above the gray bar because it will automatically fill in everything. So we're going to go to In Progress Grade. We're going to select our grading scale, and we're going to actually select the high school 9 through 12. This is an honors class for me, so I'm going to select the honors class. I'm using weighted categories, and then simply scroll down and make sure everything looks good and hit save. Now, as soon as you hit save, you see everything changes on your screen. So we are now done setting up our settings, so we can close that chevron. And now we're into grades. So grade totals don't really matter for us. This is what happens once you've posted the grade. It's the equivalent of grade verifications in Gradebook. In Progress is simply going to show you kind of like where they are, generally speaking, as you go along through the course of the quarter and or semester. This section right here, the categories section, is going to be where you're going to see all of your assignments and all of your totals for each category. All right, so I'm going to close this grade totals section just because it's kind of cumbersome. Now, our next step, add an assignment. So I'm going to add an assignment here where it says create a new assignment. I'm going to name this, I'm actually just simply going to call it Task 1. And I'll put test here. Actually, ask a student survey. And forgot my hashtag. This was a quick formative, just to make sure that everybody did it. I want to give them it's really 100 or a 0. or 50 in this case. And I'm going to put T1 for my task 1. An abbreviation was required for the gradebook. When you hit the report card, it will simply give you columns, and so there's not a lot of space to put the task number, and it gives you a legend at the bottom so that you can kind of look back and see. All right? So I'm going to put today's assignment. My teacher notes are for me. That's just so I know what's happening. The portal description is what the students and parents will see on their devices and or website. And so I'm going to put students were asked to complete the hashtag #AskAStudent survey during class to better get to know them and their needs throughout the quarter. All right, great. I'm just going to put that so people understand what that's all about. Now, student work product. If you're going to do online submissions, you can, where they upload something to it. And currently, there are no online assessments available, so let's not worry about that. All right, here's where it gets important. Do we want this to count in this particular quarter? We're going to say yes, so we click the quarter tag right here. Check it, and voila, now we can see which category it's going to go in and how many points it's worth. So I'm going to select formative task. I'm going to give it a point value of a 100 just for simplicity's sake. And right here, I'm going to leave the multiplier as 1. Now the reason why I'm keeping the multiplier as 1 is because it's in the formative category, which weighs nothing at all. But I want students to be able to see it, so I keep the multiplier as 1. Once you've done that, hit save. Simple. Now, we could close this if we wanted to, or we could add a new assignment. What if you wanted to add an assignment in a weighted category, but you didn't want it to count until they did it again, perhaps? That sounds like a formative, but you may want to categorize it in your summative. Well, you would go through the same process, and when you have the multiplier here, you would simply change the multiplier to 0. And that would record it in the gradebook in your weighted categories, but it wouldn't count against the student. I prefer having a formative and a summative and making sure that anything that is not weighted goes in the formative tasks and anything that is weighted goes in the summative tasks. So, now we have an assignment in our gradebook and we want to grade it. There's a really easy way to grade it. If you hover over the TI or T1, you'll give you some data here, and it also tells you what the assignment is. And you'll notice that there's a little chevron to expand it. So you click on the chevron, and you get all this wonderful stuff right here. This column, directly all the way down, is where you put the numerical value. This column here is used for any type of notes that you want to provide for students. Maybe they took 2 or 3 tries. On this area right here, this is a legend for turned in, missing, late, incomplete, cheating, exempt, or dropped. What I like to do when something is missing, I'll click this, and even if I put a 50 here, you'll notice it puts a little line through it and comes up with this error. It says, you have the missing flag checked for this score. The score you entered will not have any effect unless the missing flag is unchecked. What would you like to do? Well, in this case, I'm going to keep it checked so that I know it was missing and it was never turned in, and eventually I'm going to change it to late. So I'm going to uncheck missing. It's going to be late. Student did not complete assignment. Instead of late, actually, I could also put incomplete, combine them, so that mom and dad are very much aware that it's way past the deadline, it was never completed, or it was incomplete, and now, look, the 50 counts. All right? And I've got notes there. So this is a great way to do it. And then once you're done, you hit save, and voila, now we've got a grade. I hope you found this video helpful. Give it a thumbs up if you thought it was good in YouTube. If you think it needs a little help, give it a thumbs down. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me anytime you need it. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great night.